Hey guys, it's Carla. I'm here again in my kitchen for another episode of That Sounds So Good. Today I am going to be making a cold sliced steak with arugula and parm. This is from the Day Drinking and Lazy Lunches chapter of That Sounds So Good. And these are dishes that you want to have friends over, you want to hang, you want to get together and eat with people, but you don't want to like work your ass off doing it. The first step in that is we are going to cook these steaks, but I'm not going to serve them hot. I think that we are unnecessarily and sort of inexplicably obsessed with the idea of a hot, juicy steak. Like, liberate yourself from that idea. At the end, it's time to make a Caesarish little dressing. I'm gonna finish it off with very classic arugula and parm. It's easy peasy. Make a steak, eat a salad, hang with friends. All right, the other thing you're going to get out of this video is just my favorite, most dependable, super foolproof method for cooking steak. Today, I am using New York strip steaks, which is really one of my favorite cuts. I feel like you get all of the marbling of like a ribeye without those big fatty pockets in the middle, and it's got the right amount of chew for me. I'm not like a big filet, super soft steak person, so I like to use my teeth. We have teeth, let's use them for eating delicious steak. I've got a cast iron skillet over medium high, and I'm just going to add like a little drizzle of vegetable oil. I'm gonna start with the steak on this fatty side. So some of this fat renders, and also we get browning on the edge, and that's gonna end up in the pan, and it's just a good way to get things started. So just gonna stay here for about a minute or two until I see a little browning. I see some of the fat start to render, and then they'll cook really in the fat that they have created for themselves. This might be one of those like temporarily disarm your fire alarm situations. So just looking down at the edge where this fatty side meets the pan, I can see that they're already browning. So I'm gonna go now and turn onto a flat side. It's a good idea to give them a little press to make sure they're making good contact with the pan. And if you have a pressy downy or a grill press or a bacon press, this is a great time to use it. I'll give them a press just for really even browning. In this technique, it's called the frequent turning method. I'm actually gonna turn the steaks back and forth a couple times. And on the first turn, they're not gonna be like as dark as I ultimately want them to be, and that's okay. They're gonna get more time on this side. What this does is it really allows the steak, instead of getting super hot on the underside and that heat kind of creeping up to the middle of the flesh and then turning it, what you can end up with is like a gray band of well done meat on either side instead of a really evenly medium rare, which is just more delicious to eat and more tender all the way through. All right, so turning once again, and that's what the steaks look like on their second go around. Really amazing color, super caramelized, really dark. All that darkness is flavor. Very pleased. All right, let's see if this guy there, he had a chance to get to the right color. I mean, that's a sear. That's like a really nice sear on a steak. So now I'm gonna get this outside edge, which hasn't had a chance to party. So I'm gonna, again, give this another 1 to 2 minutes to get nice color, and then we'll see where we are with temperature. What you want to make sure that you do, ideally, is not go top down when you're temping a steak. This really applies to anything, but really trying to go crosswise so you can hit, essentially I want to hit dead center, the center of the steak right there. So it's still under, it's at 102. So because I'm really happy with the browning, I just want to lower the heat in the pan a tad to let the steak still be in contact with the heat. It's still cooking, it's still gaining temperature. I'm really happy with the browning and I don't want to burn them. Let's see if his friend is the same. 107. I think this guy might be a tiny bit thinner for whatever reason, cooking faster. So I'm gonna put it back in for less time than that one. I think We've put a lot of pressure on ourselves to learn how to touch a steak and feel if it's done. It doesn't mean you're a lesser cook if you need to use a thermometer to check for doneness. I do it every single time I cook literally any cut of meat. Okay, let's see what you've got. Haha, 113. I'm gonna pull it now. See this guy. Oh my God, almost exactly the same. When I'm really feeling crazy, I will keep the thermometer in there and just watch how the temperature climbs. It's so fun because it proves that like the things that we say are true, the temperature does climb. I can't have too much fun in one day, so I'm just gonna put that down. All right, so now that my steaks are resting, at this point they could rest for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. Anytime in this period, you can get your dressing ready, so that's what I'm gonna do next. Okie dokie, Smokey. It's time to make a Caesarish dressing. So it's got all the same flavors in a Caesar, and I'm gonna just use actual already pre-prepared mayonnaise. If you wanna make an aioli, knock yourself out. But I love Hellmann's. That's great, it's great stuff. So starting with 3 anchovies. If you don't have anchovies, you could definitely use like teaspoon or 2 of anchovy paste. If you don't have that, but you still want this like flavor, you could finish the dressing with a few dashes of fish sauce or the Italian fish sauce colatura. And if you don't like anchovies at all, then leave them out. Do you want to see how to mash anchovies down to a paste on my cutting board? Coarse salt. The salt is going to act as an abrasive and will end up also seasoning the dressing. And some peps. And the first thing is just to mince this. Anchovies just like kind of fall apart, you know? They don't have a ton of like integrity. And now I'm just gonna use the edge of the blade and dragging it across the chovy to start to smash and bash. But it will take like a few passes, just using the texture of the board, the knife, and the anchovies' complete lack of integrity to work it into a paste. God, anchovies, stand up for yourselves. All right, anchovies going in the bowl. All right, now I need 1 garlic clove. Same thinking. If you're just a total garlic head, then add more. And if you were using a mortar and pestle, the garlic and anchovy could go in at the same time. I just really like using the microplane for the garlic because you're not gonna get any like bite of garlic. Zest of half a lemon. I'm gonna use all of the lemon for juice. There's some recipes in my book, when I look at them later, I'm like, really? Would the zest of the entire lemon really have like been just way too much? Now, I don't know if you heard me say this before, but I have recently come around after just a life of being a wooden reamer person. This thing is so much better. I know I said this in a video before, but like it still blows my mind every single time. So sorry, I gave you terrible advice. This is the thing that you should have. It just comes straight down. All right, you're gonna recognize all of these ingredients from traditional Caesar, except for there's not gonna be a ton of grated Parm in this dressing, and there's no egg either. Okay, half a cup. The last time I made this, I measured it and I was like, really? And it was the right amount. So let's go through that again. That was, that looked amazing. I mean, it just looks like a lot of mayonnaise is the thing. But it's 2 big steaks. So we're feeding like 6 or 8 people? 4 people? Half a steak. I bet this would serve 6 people. So if you're splitting half a cup of mayonnaise between 6 people, comment below once you have that math figured out. And this should be very assertive. Very assertive. When you are ready to serve, it's time to slice. I have 2 gorgeous room temperature steaks. And the only thing I'm gonna do is what I always do when I'm slicing a steak is looking for the grain, which looks like it's going like pretty much this way. And finding the grain, those are kind of the longer like ropes of protein. And when people tell you to slice against the grain, it's to shorten those strands so you don't have like a ropey, super chewy bite. That's all that is. Right away, I can tell that frequent turning method paid off. There's like only the well done around the very, very perimeter, and then this very even from top to bottom, pink medium rare. You know right away when you've cut into a steak if you nailed it or not. And the feeling when you nail it is great. And the feeling when you don't is terrible, truly. I've done it. We've all done it. It's like forgetting to salt the pasta water. It's just an awful thing that sometimes happens. The other benefit of resting your steak for this long is like it's really got the full amount of time for all the juices to redistribute. Like notice as I'm cutting, there's like no pool of juices coming out onto the cutting board. All of that has been reabsorbed into the steak itself. So just makes for really tender bites. You've seen my work before on endies, perhaps. The endy is the best. Listen, I cook for others. I'm not gonna say that I don't. I take a lot of pleasure in it. I love feeding people. I love making them happy. I love the whole thing, but I also love the endy. And I love being alone in the kitchen and having the endy because I did this, right? The endy is mine. Steak number 2. Look at that side. No complaints there. I've also had people comment that 115 is like definitely not medium rare and they think it should be 125. I'm just saying, you saw the thermometer. That was like 113. Would you want it less than that? No, you wouldn't. Not for medium rare. Great. This is the juices that accumulated when the steaks were resting. I'm just gonna pour those over. Great, gorgeous, love it. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's amazing. It's a platter. That's party platter. So even though we have really nice seasoning and I can attest these steaks are delicious, I'm just going to make sure that I season in the layers as I build this. So just a little more salt. I'm using flaky salt, but you can use kosher, you can use whatever salt you like to salt with. And this way, like those inner part of the slices that didn't get the seasoning before getting cooked are getting it now. And then I'm just gonna take the dressing and drizzle it all over. And this way, everybody who picks up a slice or two is gonna be dressed. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. And now I've got baby arugula, any spicy green. I just think the sharpness with the steak is a really good combo if you've ever had like a steak and arugula sandwich. If you wanted to use like radish sprouts or the little baby mustard greens, those have a lovely little heat to them and pepperiness, that would be great. Leo, yeah. Do we want a meat endy? What does the meat endy mean to you?
When the vultures come by the cutting board before dinner.
When the vultures come by the cutting board before dinner. Sweet, sweet baby vultures. A little salt on the arugula, a little olive oil, just to make sure he gets a little action, Jackson. And now with a chunk of parm, I'm just gonna shave right over. This is fun to do in front of your friends. You could bring it out and be like, oh my God, I forgot. Hold on, there's just one more thing. I just have to shave the parm, super cash. And then you do this. Only like 6 or 7 parm shavings went on the floor too. Call that a success. Okay, party time. This is cold sliced steak with arugula and parm. I think it is an amazing family dinner. I think it is an amazing come over and hang out dinner. I think it's just amazing. I think it's delicious. I think it's got it all. I think it's got juicy. I think it's got rich. I think it's got creamy. I think it's got salty. I think it's got crunchy. It's just an all-in-one. I have a beautiful little slice of medium rare steak, a little tangle of arugula, little shard of parm. Super tender. Super raw. Everything, you can imagine what it tastes like. I love it. It's so good. This is a party. The only thing I'm missing is some wine. That's my fault. Day drinking lazy lunches. Get into it. The endy. Like and subscribe.